What is up, ladies and simps? We have a lot to go through today. We'll be going through the edicts. I've already gone through the trouble of maxing each of these out so that you can see what they do. And I will be showing you what I think is the best use for each of them. Here is a nice little city that I built, so I had the luxury to build them up. I'll probably be using this town to do tutorials in the future. It's yep, everybody mostly just works in an office. I like it a lot. Alright, without further ado, let's get into it. And so begins the guide on edicts. Food for the people is one that you can get fairly early on. When maxed out, it will increase your food quality by 15 and decrease capitalist standing by 10, but increase the communist standing by 5. This is generally best paired with no free lunch. Citizens need to pay $3 when they take food from a production building. So essentially you'll be getting $6 every time somebody eats. So that's just daily income right there. Now the consequence of this is your poor citizens, well technically broke, will not be able to buy food and they will starve off. So our focus is on food for the people. We'll ignore this for a moment. Now if you don't have a gimmick, food for the people you are going to want almost always. However, it is best used in tandem with the Colosseum of Rome because all that the Colosseum of Rome takes into account is food and fun happiness for your entire empire. And so when you're choosing this, and if you get the Colosseum of Rome, you can consider that a plus 15 happiness. Church fee is going to be best used alongside atheist state. When we go over to our constitution here, check out atheist state, you're going to be disabling your religious buildings anyways. And so you can basically get this for free. So basically what it would do is give you a plus 5 capitalist standing for free if you go the atheist route. If you don't go the atheist route, then, you know, enjoy the free money. This also goes well with Taj Mahal because they give you money on death. If you're trying to truly squeeze every single penny you can out of your people, that's another strategy you could use with this. I would also consider a life's work, because if you're using this edict, you are truly either trying to build a little bit of standing with atheist state, or you're squeezing every penny you can out of your people. Because if you're using churches and you're dropping their efficiency, now that I think about it, I don't know why you would ever not pick this. Even if you're doing a religious route, if you're going religious, you probably want the extra money. I mean, even when it comes to St. Basil's Cathedral, they just get a flat 5 up or down. So, yeah, I see this as a no-lose situation. This one I kind of covered a little bit when I was talking about food for the people. This is a really good one. But if you do have broke citizens, you will not want to use it if you plan on keeping those people happy at all. Always use it in tandem with food for the people if you can help it. Okay, so the mandatory siesta is another one that you're going to have to think hard about. I generally do not run it. A 20% boost to job quality for each workplace is good, and reduced pollution is also good. However, it's going to decrease efficiency of all workplaces by 8%, and you think, okay, 8% is not bad of all workplaces if you increase the job quality, right? Well, again, that's going to depend on what wonders you're running, right? Because if you're running the Colosseum, we don't care about that. And if you're running St. Basil's, we don't really care about that either. Now what that is going to affect are things like your offices. You can see here, with that turned on, I'm making 170%, when before I had done that, I was at 178. That can be more or less damaging depending on what buildings you're hitting it with. Because you have to think you'll be affecting everything, your solar plants, your offices, probably even these offshore offices here that are generating a crazy amount of money. You know, are you going to make your military weaker too? You probably won't want to be doing that if you're doing a military strategy or picking the castle. So I would do this if you don't have a gimmick in place to make people happy. So if you just want to make people happy, there's no gimmick, maybe you can take that 8% hit. Me personally, I don't. So next up is the Penal colony. This is probably the single best edict in the game, in my own opinion. At least for the early game, and even past the early game, I keep it anyways. Getting 60% immigration rate early on is huge. This was probably the first edict that you want to get. I would just, you know, open up your research, find it, you know, research it immediately, right from the get-go. The $300 is going to help you a tremendous amount. The immigration is going to help you a lot, and then even as you carry into the late game, you know, $300 out of nowhere, that's amazing. And, you know, it looks like a negative down here, right? It says 300% chance increase for people to be criminals. Well, what do we do with criminals? Are criminals all worthless? Absolutely not. We have re-education camps. No, we would do convict labor, and you'll generate $25 for every inmate. Or you actually could leave them on re-education, and then right there you're turning adults and getting them actually educated, ready to go to college. I don't see any way you can lose. Even the negative on this isn't a negative. Child allowances. Now this looks like one of those edicts that you see and you're like, what is the point of this? Why would I even consider this? Why would I want to pay per child? I'll explain why. You're gonna go to your book here, go to population, and go to wealth. Now how your wealth is taken into account is it is the two parents plus the child. And so if one person makes, let's say, $20 an hour, right? And this guy, let's say he makes $7 an hour. Well, it's gonna average theirs out plus the child who's making 0, you know. That's going to put them in the poor category, or even worse, they could end up in the broke category. Which is why, as you can see on this playthrough here, I have 2,206 rich people because everyone's working a decent job, and when you average all their incomes together, it ends up much higher since you don't have a child bringing in a total of 0. So this also works very well if you prefer to do wealthy citizens vote, because you're going to have more wealthy citizens as a result. And because it's mostly wealthy people that are voting for you, odds are they're going to be in favor with your government a little bit more, which means they're going to be voting for you more often, right? Because it's not your unemployed people, right, that are just absolutely hate the world. They're not the ones that are voting for you. It's only your wealthy people that you're supposed to be taking care of. So this is a very, very good one depending on how you're playing and what kind of voting system you have going. This can also help with other edicts, such as the wealthy tax, and because, you know, you have more families are considered rich or filthy rich, then you're going to get extra money from that too. So even though it's costing you $1 a month for each child, as long as 1 in 7 of your families are rich, it's literally going to pay for itself and provide more benefits than it takes away. Urban development is self-explanatory. It's going to cost you $4,000 to get going, so you would only use this right before a really big building project. Let's say you want to spend $100,000, well, you go ahead and pop that thing, because that's going to help you out. But it does only work on residential buildings, so homes that people live in. Employee of the month, I just don't use mines. $225 a month is pretty steep just to run it. I don't feel like paying that every month. However, if you do use mines, you would almost definitely want to use this if you like, you know, pumping out gold and uranium. That's self-explanatory. Do keep in mind, though, that your people are not going to be very happy about that situation. But if you don't care about their happiness, then it's nothing but win. Advanced boat service, this depends on what kind of gameplay you want. The ports and docks, you know, the upkeep, it's not that big of a deal if you have a lot of money. This would probably be like something you do maybe a little later into the game. Unless you're going for tourism, in which case it would be very good to get quite early on. Because essentially what this is doing is it's bringing people to your island quicker, and if you're doing the tourist route, that's the way to go. The Statue of Liberty is actually a pretty good one to pair with that, if you can help it. Next up is free housing. Now this is one that I don't use because one of my biggest money makers in this game is actually the housing. So if you want to use this, there's quite a variety of strategies that you could use to make this work. One of them is you don't mind if most of your population is poor or broke. One of the reasons you would probably use this is you aren't concerned about the wealth of your citizens. So if you have broke people, they do have a place to live. That's going to help, you know, you get re-elected. I have martial law going, so I don't have to worry about that for this tutorial. But as far as your public opinion goes, this is pretty huge for keeping people off the streets. I was looking around, I don't actually see any shacks. But if you're not a fan of shacks and you don't like there to be homeless people, and you want them all to have a place to stay, then free housing may be for you, if you're willing to give up a lot of money. Free housing if you want to get re-elected. That was a mouthful. Alright, we made it out of Colonial into World Wars. Now, I was going to do all 4 of these in one video, But as I was going through it, I realized this video is going to be over an hour long if I do the entire thing, so I'm going to have to split it up into 4 parts. Also, I want to go through these thoroughly, so I'm not just quickly running through them, not really giving useful information. I'd rather it be high quality information. And with that said, before I close out the video, I would like to add one more thing to it, and that is to make note of some things here, like on no free lunch. Do you notice where it says decreases religious standing by 5? And why I kind of gave no attention to this here, where it also decreases the religious standing? For certain factions in the game, the further you go in the game, the more you can kind of negate the losses on here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now, I loaded up a little bit earlier version of the game to showcase this, but as you can see here, you could negate the negative modifiers from your edicts. Well, assuming your martial law isn't getting out of hand, that'll take these away really quick. But if you're running just a regular empire, you can build, you can literally get this up to like plus 20. It doesn't stop at 10. I don't know how far it could go infinitely, but I have gotten it up to plus 20. And you can generally keep your primary factions as happy as you want as long as you keep building the buildings that they like, right? So capitalists like gourmet restaurants and offices. Environmentalists, they like solar panels, you know? I'm pretty sure... oh, okay, here we go, yeah. Intellectuals like offices too, so... Clearly I have a lot of offices. I don't have enough people working them all, though. But when it comes to things like edicts that lower your religious standing or your communist standing or whatever, you pick and choose who you want to please. You can please everyone. So keep that in mind. Do you want to please everyone? You know, maybe you wouldn't pick these up. But in general, if you have to pick and choose who your allies are, just build the buildings you need and you don't have to worry about it. And if you do have a hard time managing it, well then at least now you're prepared to have that thought come to mind. And knowing there's a problem definitely helps you deal with the problem, especially when you have a couple solutions laid out for you. So that's it for this one. I will try and follow those up here soon. It will be my goal to finish out this series. Peace!